Hello and welcome to a new video about the full moon in Pisces that is going to occur around and about the 10th, the 11th of September. So it's going to be at 17 degrees of Pisces and the sun will be at the opposite sign as with every full moon at 17 degrees of Virgo. So what is this all about, this full moon? And I'll be talking about that in general first of all, and then break it down very shortly to the 12 signs. Now, this is a very interesting full moon because it's quite complex to explain and because it's quite rare what's happening basically. Now, a full moon is, of course, every month we have a full moon and it always explains things come to fruition, things come to consciousness. So things become visible and things become, we become aware. There's a lot of aha moments happening with full moons because, you know, it's kind of awareness at its peak, you could say. Now, so this is the fact, again, with the full moon. Now it is in Pisces, so the moon will be in Pisces, but it will be the most interesting aspect or close aspect, you could say, with the moon is, of course, conjunct Neptune. So it is in the sign of Pisces and it is conjoining, merging, you could say, with the energy of Neptune. Now, let's have a look at what is moon Neptune all about when someone has that in a natal chart. When someone, again, aspects are never good or bad. They are what they are, but it can be used in a positive way and it can be always used in a negative way as well. So it is what we do with it. But moon Neptune, moon in Pisces already is a very sensitive position to have. So it's almost psychic, you could say. Even when you have a man with like the sun in maybe in Aries and you know, Venus in Aquarius, which is all very light and open and straightforward. Having a moon in Pisces always shows a sensitivity. And with Neptune, it's like a double whammy. It's Neptune is the recent, you could say, the ancient ruler of Pisces is Jupiter, and the new ruler, the modern ruler, is Neptune. So it's next to its ruler. So it's like a double whammy of openness, of sensitivity, of the good things are definitely of spirituality, feeling and knowing, feeling. It's a feeling sign that you're not alone and it wants to merge with all there is, and it shows a great deal of compassion and empathy like no other. Like people with moon conjunct Neptune, they have a tremendous amount of empathy and understanding of other people's feelings so strongly that sometimes it becomes annoying for these people. Because it's also a lot of emotions, a lot of feelings, and that can be overwhelming. Even when it's positive feeling, it can be overwhelming and a bit too much of everything because people with moon conjunct Neptune, and now we are going to feel that energy, it's all very much because you are so attuned with your environment and it's such a high sensitivity that everything that comes in is like amplified. So when you are like content, you're super content. When someone says to you, I love you, it's like overwhelming. It's like, whoa, a flush that you feel of emotions and it can be overwhelming. And of course, can you imagine what it is when it's a negative emotion, you know, when someone is angry at you, how it feels, you know. So there is a sense of no boundaries. Moon Neptune wants to have no boundaries, basically. And again, you can use that in a positive way, which is like understanding other people, having a lot of empathy. So these people are very much psychics without even knowing, you know, you don't have to be in that industry, you know, being a tarot reader or what else. You can be an IT specialist and have moon conjunct Neptune. And wondering why, when you go to work with negative people, that when you come home, you feel like all those emotions and you're wondering, are these mine or are these the emotions of the environment that I just soaked up? So you see, there's a beauty here, absolutely, but when only the you could say it's unconditional love and unconditional. It's very philanthropic as well. You know, it's I understand people who are. It's a bit like the savior and the one that wants to be saved, especially with this full moon in Virgo. It's definitely that archetype. But of course, we can only help people when we have strong boundaries ourselves. And this is the pitfall of the moon conjunct Neptune people. The pitfall is if they don't have any boundaries, or if they can't say no to a person, if they lose themselves, of course. And another pitfall is that, yes, you can help out others and people who are really suffering and in need. You know, these moon Neptune people, they can help people, absolutely. But of course, you hear me coming already. People sense that, and people who don't have the most best interest and are not full of integrity, it's very easy for them to. It opens the door to abuse, basically. When you don't have good boundaries, you kind of, if you're not discerning, and that's the whole thing. That's the opposite sign of Virgo, what Virgo does. Virgo is, you know, in itself, very good at discerning. This is like this. This is a person that needs the help. This is a person that's going to take advantage. That doesn't really need the help. You know, they are all, it's very common, you know, that the ones who cry for the most help are not always the ones that need it. It's sometimes the people who are isolating themselves and all of that, who kind of need it the most. Anyway, but what I'm trying to say is that this is a very interesting full moon, because this moon Neptune is all about this compassion and empathy and so on. But the pitfall is definitely boundaries, having no boundaries, and therefore having no protection, and therefore being super, super vulnerable. There's nothing wrong with being vulnerable. Don't get me wrong here. It's a beautiful thing, but it becomes not a blessing anymore. It becomes a curse when you are not protecting your vulnerability. And that's when Virgo comes in, the opposite sign, where the sun is going to be at this full moon. This is about discerning the chaff from the wheat, right? Or how do you say that expression? Anyway, those who deserve it, those who are not deserving it. And therefore, this full moon is so interesting, with the consciousness of, okay, I want to be the savior here, or do I really truly want to help just because I want to help? That's already a good question to ask here in any situation that all the signs will have. So it's first of all a warning of, be aware when you feel like you can't say no, when you feel that someone is crossing your boundaries or you're trying to cross other people's boundaries. Again, it depends on the position of this full moon. Be aware of that. Yes, you can help people out, absolutely, but are they worth it? That is the key question here. Are they worth it? Are people, you know, people who you want to help them because you think that you are obliged to do so, whatever it is, why you're thinking that. But when you invest like a 90% and they just give you crumbs, and you have to be careful for not overdoing this, because you're not helping that person, first of all, because you enable, and they never become strong. And second, it's not good for you either. So this Sun and Virgo, which an opposition is always two very opposite energies that you need at the same time. So if we use this right, this full moon, we can really, really make this a fantastic full moon, full of compassion and empathy and with healthy boundaries. That's fantastic. That is real love. That is real friends. I mean, real love needs boundaries. Period. I know what they say, and especially with the moon, Neptune, and unconditional love, blah, blah, blah. Yes, for a child between 0 and like 13 years old or 14 years old, you can have the unconditional love. But above that, it has to do with what I was just talking about. And so don't fool yourself, you know. True love is not just enabling. True love is helping out when someone really needs it. And seeing the difference now will be shown because of the full moon. So because the sun is in Virgo, and the sun in Virgo will say, hey, what's going on here? Do they really need it? Are they taking advantage of me? And why do you let people take advantage of you? That has to do with self-worth, right? So, but that's another story. So the first thing is here that it is a sort of a culmination and a wake-up call for all of us in certain fields of where we want to cross the boundaries and not. And but at the same time, it can be a very soulmate kind of connection we have with people, and it can be really a thing of service. You know, the Virgo, the axis Virgo and Pisces are very much about service, or very much about healing, or very much about helping others, but you're just doing it because you love to do it. But you're doing it to the right person that is worth it. And that's the whole key here. That's the whole thing of this full moon. And especially because, and there's going to be a lot of wake-up calls in connections. Why? Because the two rulers of this Pisces energy and a Virgo energy, which is Jupiter for Pisces and Mercury for Virgo, they are going to connect with each other. Throughout the whole month of September, they are connecting with each other. And they are connecting backwards and forwards, because we have the day after this full moon happens, or a couple of hours after that, it depends on where you live, you're going to have the Mercury retrograde. Mercury, the ruler of Virgo, who is saying, what's going on here? Oh, I have to reassess here. So for all of us, it's going to be reassessment time. So there is some events that are going to happen that prompt us into reassessment. That's not a bad thing at all. That's why Virgo is so used to reassessing, because it has all those Mercury retrogrades in their life. Because of their ruler, Mercury. So Mercury is in Libra, or will be around 8 degrees of Libra, is almost standing still when this full moon is happening. And it opposes Jupiter at around and about 5 degrees of Aries. And then then it goes backwards. It's going to jump backwards and forwards with this Jupiter. So that means when the two rulers of the full moon are connecting so intensely and so rare, because it's rare that there's a full moon that is happening, and then there is 3 times where Mercury and Jupiter are going to touch each other throughout this whole month. That is super, super rare. This means a reassessment of connections. This means a reassessment of these two energies. And it's all about relationships, because it's in Libra, this Mercury retrograde, which is the sign of relationships. And Mercury, Jupiter, they are known as the communicators. The detailed communicator, the small communicator, which is Mercury, and Jupiter, which is seeing the broader picture. So in a nutshell, it's a lot about this boundary stuff, right? And have protection of vulnerabilities. Also, it's going to become very clear who is worth it and who's not worth it. And that will shift the connections and relationships with people. So for some people, this is going to be a good thing. For some people, because of circumstances, they are going to say, this person is actually way more interesting than I thought, on a positive level. And for others, it's going to be, I really, kind of said. There's always going to be like, I kind of sensed it. Because the moon Neptune is a very psychic position to have. And I got to say, but now I have the proof, right? So what an interesting energy. Well, it's a bit complex, but once you understand what's going on here, you can, with this full moon, really attempt to know who you're dealing with, basically. And to know where in relationships, to balance it out, basically, to do healthy relationships, which is a 50-50, which is, if you want a healthy relationship, you need ego, absolutely. You know, selfishness is not a good thing, not at all. It's destructive for the other person and for yourself as well. Anyway, I could go talk on and on and on about this topic, because I love this energy. in itself, because it gives us such a big spiritual growth, and so we can all definitely grow out of this. But let's get down to all the 12 signs. And so in what area of life is this happening? Because for everyone it's going to be different. Now for Aries people, this is happening in your 12th house. This is a lot about relationships though, because Jupiter is in your sign. You know, the ruler of the full moon, the rulers of the full moon are in your sign and in your opposite sign where Mercury is. So definitely here, because something for you around the full moon happens in the unconscious. So it's not going to be for you like an event or something that happens that prompts you into reassessing. No, it's more like it could be a dream. It could be through meditation. It could be through you relaxing for a change. So around that time, it can be a little bit for you, for Aries person, a little bit weird. You know, the 12th house is an unconscious house and it's very watery. It's a bit the opposite, you could say, to Aries, because Aries is so fiery. It's water and fire, right? But listen to your dreams. If you get a hint and write it down, and it can help you in the reassessing of relationships. So there is definitely around going to be for you a tremendous amount of communication, and you wanting to see the bigger picture, and then the other person appears like the nitty-gritty person that is like showing you details. But the thing is to balance it out between the bigger picture and the small stuff, and how you can put all of these together. So definitely for you, things are going to become very real when it comes to your relationships, and also through your day-to-day life, because that is where the sun is, you know. The discerning will come from your day-to-day routine. So keep on doing your routines very well as much as you can. It's going to serve you. Taurus people, this is this full moon in your 11th house. So this could be that there is a friend or there is a goal. You know, the 11th house is goals, friends, and also when you have your own business, it's the money that you get from your own business, because it's the second house from the 10th house. So these areas, there could be happening something. There could be happening something in the life of a friend, that a friend is very emotional and very, you know, moon Neptunian. And there could be also a goal of yours that you're wondering, is this still a good goal for me? Is this, so you could be letting go of a goal as well. And it opposes the sun in your 5th house. So it's almost like something becomes really, without your doing, but something becomes clear when it comes to your friends, when it comes to your goals, and when it comes to what you want. And it could be like clashing. But the thing is to find that compromise, to find that 50-50. Like when your friends are taking too much, for instance, they're taking 90% and you're only having 10% to restore it. Or the other way around. It could be the other way around as well, that you kind of lay down and do your own thing all the time, and you are being in your own bubble there, and you're doing your own thing, and your friends are saying, hey, but can you, with the particular goal or with a particular action that you are taking together, could you do a little bit more, please? You know, it could be that as well. Something will become very, very clear, but there is a sensitivity concerned here. It could be also that, what else could it be? Yes, there could also be a topic around love as well, because the sun in the 5th house, you want to enjoy yourself more, definitely, with the sun here in Virgo. And but it kind of clashes towards your goals, or towards your friend group, or an association that you're in, association that you are in. So, but whatever it is, it's not the end of the world for you, because this Piscean energy goes very well with your energy. It's the sextile between Pisces and Taurus. But still, it could be a little bit overwhelming there. It could be all a little bit a lot of feelings there, and you can help yourself and your friends and your goals with grounding yourself in the heart chakra, with being open for your own needs and your own creativity, but not too much, right? Not in this indulgent way. And the rulers, Mercury and Jupiter, are in your 6th and 12th house. So again, this is about routines and about how I relax. So it could have to do as well with your work balance, between the balance between working and between not working. So you are restoring that. That could be a reassessment, but you've got the whole month to figure that out. Geminis, this is super important for you, especially because you are a mutable sign. This is all happening in mutable signs. So when you have planets around and about, let's say 17 degrees of Gemini, you will feel this very, very strongly. But other Geminis would feel this as well. And it's in the full moon is happening in your career area. So there could be actually with the moon in the 10th house with Neptune there, especially if you have a career in where the public is involved and where the arts are involved. This could be actually for you a very good full moon because you are seen now. And it opposes the sun in the 4th house, like it's the work-life balance classic, to keep that into balance basically. But again, on another level, if there is no artisticity involved, or there could be something that becomes very clear for you and that you want to let go of, that has to do with your job. So it could mean that you're saying when you're having a job that you don't like that much, that you are dissolving it and you're focusing on your emotional well-being, what that wants and how you can reassess that and restore the balance basically between both of them. So with the rulers going backwards and forwards in your 5th and 11th house, this could create like a new goal for the future, a new understanding of your heart chakra, of what do you want to do. Like it could mean a job that you're saying goodbye to, but this is all a process because this whole Mercury-Jupiter opposition is for the whole month of September, but something becomes very clear for you. Of course, you've got it in your you have your you're the captain of your ship, I wanted to say. So you decide what you're gonna do with this energy and the steps that you are going to take. But it can really mean like a sensitivity also towards work, or a sensitivity towards you know, the boundaries they are crossing or you are crossing at your work. So a restoring of that, and that has to do with your own heart. Like when you're doing over hours over and over again, you know, and you find yourself like, I'm neglecting my hobbies, my children, my, you know, that kind of stuff. So it's a very important time for you to, especially with the Mercury retrograde as well, and that Mercury being in your 5th house of self-expression. So it's very important for you to question and to ask yourself, am I happy here in this situation? Cancerians, this is happening in your 9th house, and this is for Cancerians maybe not the most important full moon, but it is one that is more gentle for you because Pisces is water energy, Cancer is water energy, so it flows very easily for you. But this is all about your mind. The opposition that is happening in, there becomes something very clear for you. And it has to do with the bigger picture. It has to do with where you believe in. It becomes very clear to you where you're heading for the future and if that is in balance or not. The 9th house and the 3rd house are about vision, or about trips, you know, short trips versus long trips. So you could be, something becomes very clear for you here around travel. But also around if you work in a business with a lot of communication and with a lot of, you know, international connections, something there could become very clear as well. It is quite sensitive though. So with Moon Neptune in the 9th house, it could really be an epiphany that you let go of an old system of belief that you had. So maybe you believed that something was very good for you, and now all of a sudden you think it's the opposite, you know, and the other way around, that you kind of neglected something, and now you see, hey, this is very important for me, more than I thought it was. So it's a lot about what happens for you on a mental level, for sure. And the rulers are happening in the key areas of your life, between your work and your home. So actually the epiphanies that you, and the aha moments that you're getting whilst you travel, or whilst with a connection from abroad, or going through something cultural that you do. You read a book, you read an inspired book, or you look, you watch a very inspiring movie. Whatever it is, it's going to click something into the head, and it's going to have a knock-on effect on your home work balance. So that is where the core is of the rulers meeting each other. So you're going to reassess a lot between work and home. And again, you have the whole month to figure that out, even a little bit more than that, because these rulers are going in different directions. So reassessing a lot about how can I have a healthy work-life balance, and how can I, maybe you work too hard and you want to be a little bit more giving yourself permission to have more emotional well-being. Or it's the other way around. Maybe you don't work at all, or too little, and you say, hey, I'm just too focused on my emotional well-being, but I'm not getting any direction in my life. It depends on who you are, but there is something that needs to be restored here, and you have that opportunity. Leos, this is happening in your 8th house. So this is for you all about values and values of other people. You could be doing, with this moon Neptune in your 8th house, a letting go of what other people think of you. I know you would say, hey, but Veerle, Leos, they don't feel like that. Oh yes, they do. They're human, right? A Leo is supposed to be confident and so on. A confident, supposed to be, yes, a Leo that is in balance, but sometimes we are all out of balance. So here we have an opportunity to restore that. And because the sun is in your 2nd house of self-worth and of owning your worth, but it clashes with this moon Neptune in the 8th house. So it could mean that there is some emotions involved here, hurt, pain, trauma, crisis, because you need to let go of something. The 8th house is a very transformative house. So on a psychological level, it can also mean like letting go of a fear that you once had and going a bit more towards your self-worth and your center. And that can be a very good thing indeed. But it can also mean a letting go of an attachment that you had towards validation that was outside of you, whether it was a parent, well, not so much a parent, but it could have to do with what you value a lot and what is very dear to you, but it might not always be good for you, you know, like people who are very close to us, like parents or good friends or family or spouses, girlfriend, boyfriend. Sometimes they are, without them even knowing it, they don't always have our best interest, and it's up to us to see that and to confront that. And the rulers here of the full moon are in the mental communication houses, the 3rd and the 9th. So there's going to be a lot of communication around those boundaries. And I think that's a good thing. It's going to help you to restore that balance between your value and someone else's value. On another level, this is also a money house. So there could be like a letting go of an attachment towards other people's money, whether it is like an inheritance or whether it is like an investment or something. There's something that dissolves and yes, that prompts you again towards you. And there is a strength in that for sure, and a lot of healing comes with that as well. Virgo, super important for you, of course, especially when you have a birthday around this 10th, 11th of September, because this is happening. So then you have this in your solar return. So when you have planets in Virgo around 17 degrees. This is definitely your full moon and very applicable for you. Other Virgos will feel it as well, very, very strongly, because their ruler here opposes Jupiter. So definitely the full moon is happening in your opposite sign. So for you, it's more like because of a person could feel very, very emotional around you. I say a person, it's a close person. It's a one-to-one it could be your relationship, you know, your romantic partner. But it could also mean when you're single, for instance, a very significant person for you. There's definitely someone there showing itself, and they could be showing the good side of it and the pitfall, right? The good side, which is the understanding and the compassion and all of that, but it could be also that they are in some sort of need, or that they have like problems, and you want, so for you in particular, Virgo, beware of the savior syndrome, right? So are they worth it, and so on. So it's a very wake-up time for you. You have been having Neptune for a long time in your 7th house, so that's why Virgos, who are normally very, very discerning and have no problem at all with seeing, you know, the devil is in the detail. They have that kind of instinct, you could say. Well, it's not an instinct. It's like they just see it, you know, the details that, oh, what's going on with you. But that radar is not really on with Neptune there. And because of that, they could also, for all kind of reason, because they don't want to see it, or because they don't want to be in a real relationship, so they choose for not seeing what they're seeing in front of them, whatever the reason is, or just of not being aware, they have a wake-up call in relationships here. So something will be shown for you. And see it as a good thing, you know, it can be for better or for worse, but see it as a good thing, and it has a knock-on effect on your worth, your self-worth, versus the worth of other people. And the restoration of that. So because this Mercury is in your 2nd house of your own worth, and it clashes with Jupiter in your 8th house, it is like the restoration of the give and take between different values. You know, when you are in a connection, the ego struggles that can come, because this is something that I find important, this is something that you find important, and it's clashes, you know, that kind of thing, to restore that. That's basically what's going to happen in September for you. Could also have to do with money. So your money versus the money that you share with another person. There has to be a restoration there. There has to be a reassessment. Whatever it is, ultimately, it's for the good to clean it up again and to make it more healthy than it is. But first, there needs to be like something that happens and it will come from the other person, because this full moon is in your 7th house. So keep your eyes open, be alert, and definitely watch the intro of the video, because it's very applicable on all levels for you. Librans, this is happening in your 6th house. So there is something that you're letting go of that has to do with a job, or that has to do with a routine, or with your health, that is dissolving here. And that could be for better or for worse. But mind you that with the Sun in the 12th house, there's also a need for relaxation. There's also a need for understanding that a lot of our health issues come from emotional problems. So there is a restoration for here, definitely possible when it comes to your health, but also when it comes to work. There could be at work, you know, things are happening there that are all quite a little bit overwhelming, and even a little bit emotional there. A lot, again, because of the moon Neptune. But whatever it is, when you can't put your finger on it, it can be something that is related to your work or your health. But be alert and see what happens. And around this full moon, there is going to be some revelations here that have a knock-on effect on your relationships, Libra. Because the rulers here, Mercury is in your 1st house, opposing Jupiter in the 7th. So ultimately, this trigger, which is in your 6th house of health and work, is going to have a knock-on effect to restore, actually, a balance between you and another person. And if you're single, to have a new attitude around relationships. So around what you think, what they think, the bigger picture, the smaller picture, the communication style. So a lot of communication will be done for you during this month, enormously, with Mercury going retrograde in your sign for sure. But it's a very interesting opportunity for you to restore the balance in relationships. So where you have given in too much, or they might have given in too much. Although I think with Librans, it's mostly the other way around. Because Librans are ruled by Venus and they want to please, right? I'm talking about that a lot. So be careful there, or be alert and restore where you can. You've got time for this. Scorpios, this is happening in your 5th house, and for you Scorpios, it's a fellow water sign. It's one of the easier full moons for you. Pisces goes well with Scorpio. It's nice flow. Oh, this could be very romantic for you, Scorpios. With the moon and Neptune in your 5th house. Wow, this could be really, really falling deep, and falling head over heels. And but whatever it is, it could feel like a soulmate, when you are like single, and this could be a new relationship for sure. And that has maybe some roots in the friendship area because it opposes the sun in your 11th house. So definitely for you, it could be the story of a friend becomes more than that, and it becomes all very overwhelming. That could be one of the things, or simply because you are so much in love and so much infatuated that you don't have time for your friends anymore. And they knock on the door and say, hey, are you losing yourself? So listen to your friends, right? For a part of it, so that you can restore this and you can make it very real and it doesn't become something that is just all out there. But I'm not too worried about this because this is a beautiful full moon for you. If it's not about romance, this could be about a child, that the child is going through a very phase of artistic creativity, for instance, or a child is maybe getting a bit lost there, a bit overwhelmed in emotions, and you can restore that with your communication. It could also mean a project or a hobby or something that you're doing that you love to do, where you lose yourself a little bit, but in a quite healthy way. As I said, this full moon trines your energy, so you will be okay with that. And but it can also mean a letting go of something that is dear to you. Like a child that goes to university, for instance, or a project that you finished up and you let go of that. And so now you have a little bit more friends, more time with your friends and hanging out with them on a social level. Now the rulers are in the 6th and the 12th house. So a lot about this is also having a knock-on effect on your work. And there could be a lot of conversations around work, how you want to expand, how you would want to find more purpose in work, basically, and how you are going to do that. And the unconscious can give you, like dreams and all of that, can give you some clues there in how to restore that. Sagittarians, this is super important for you. When you have planets around 17 degrees of Sagittarius, you will feel this very strongly because you are a mutable sign, but all the Sagittarians will feel it tremendously because their ruler of the full moon is also involved. Now, this is in the axis of work life. So for you, this full moon, it's something in your home life, in your most inner core life, which is your emotions, your emotional setup that is being shown to you. Literally, it could mean like you are going to say goodbye to an old home, so to speak, or relatives. It's something that dissolves here, but it's in a Neptunian way. So it's not harsh and all of a sudden something happens. And no, it's already happening for a while, and it's kind of dissolving in a gentle healing kind of way. But for a lot of you, that could mean that there is a restoration that needs to happen between the work and between your home life. But certainly this could be getting a little bit nostalgic and be a bit emotional. But at the same time, healing. Yes, it squares up to your energy, but even more, that prompts you into understanding of self and being kind for yourself, like a parent, so to speak, with the moon Neptune in the 4th house. This is very parental energy of care, and but have the balance with your public life, so to speak. Even if you're not working, you know, you're maybe you're a mom of 4 kids or whatever. So it's all about that balance. Now the rulerships is Jupiter is your ruler, opposes Mercury, so this is also a lot about your relationships. And as it is in your 5th and 11th house, it's a lot about love relationships versus friends, or an intertwining of that as well, because Jupiter is in your 5th house, so you really want to have purpose more when it comes to you having fun and you being creative and you doing your own thing and not so much listening to your friends and what they want. And there is a restore of balance here. So it depends on how you were before that. If you are someone who's always been hanging around with friends and never saying what you want, this is the time of rebalancing this out. So this could be like some discussions with friends, or maybe it's the other way around. Maybe you do too much for yourself and the friends are saying, hey, wait, when are we going to see you? And you restore that. Also on a love level, it could mean that a friend becomes a little bit more than that. And that is a bit of restoring the communication between your social circle and between your heart, basically. So that could be happening as well. But whatever it is, there is a lot of communication between the communication houses, which is the 11th house, you know, the house of friends, like-minded people. So a lot of backwards and forwards. So a lot of what you think now today about your friends is going to shift. That could be, again, for better or for worse. So be open. Mind what you're saying as well, with Jupiter there, opposing Mercury. So you could get really communication towards you from friends that kind of shift your understanding, not only of your friends, but also of yourself. And you are restoring that, you know. And that is the shift that you are making to balance out that energy, so that you also act from the heart, which is Jupiter in that 5th house, which is super expressive. So very beautiful energy, but it's a bit tricky there to not fall towards, you could say, thinking that you already know someone when it comes to your friend circle. And and because Sagittarians are always, you could say, they are very fiery people, right? In general, unless you have like a moon in Scorpio or something like that, you know. But mostly they are very open people. So listen, try to listen as much as you can now, because the wisdom here is now in the silence and in the listening of what is happening around you. That's going to be very interesting for you. Capricorns, this is happening in your 3rd house. So not the major full moon here, but definitely epiphanies can come through. Something that is happening in your environment, with siblings, with neighbors, with communication that you get, an email, a phone call. So that could be quite emotional. So moon Neptune here is about siblings, neighbors, that can get very emotional, or something happens in their lives that has a knock-on effect with you. And but it can also mean a dissolving of this energy, things and connections that you had with the people around you when in your environment. It can shift, it can dissolve. It's been happening for a while, certainly with Neptune in your 3rd house, but with this full moon, it kind of dissolves and kind of, you know, it's a lot about letting go of a certain dynamic. That was the word that I was looking for. Dynamics with neighbors, dynamics with siblings. They can dissolve for better or for worse, you know. It's about a letting go of that and a starting all over again with the sun in the 9th house, which gives you this this huge, you could say, helicopter view, but in a very detailed way because it's in Virgo. So it could also mean travel, short trips and all of that, that something becomes very clear to you. You know, we have that often when we travel, that things become super clear for us. Also vehicles, you know, the third house could be that you're selling your car, you know, he had its best time, and before you can get a new one, you sell an old one, right? So this could be that very mundane thing as well. It's also learning and teaching. So something becomes there very obvious that has to do with studies or studies that you do. Can be also very understanding and compassion in your words and in your speech. But it really has a knock-on effect on your work-life balance as well, because the rulers are in the 10th and the 4th house. So there is going to be a restoration there, a reassessment between life and work, you could say, home and work. If there is an imbalance, this is certainly the month of September to restore that. And it's very, very common that you are going to work on that as well. Aquarians, this is happening in your 2nd house. So this is all about values, money, your value versus the value of someone else. There's something that is highlighted here. Moon Neptune in the 2nd house, it could be a vulnerability around your self-worth, and that you have noticed for so far. And because there is this opposition of what other people think of you, what you think of yourself, and there is a vulnerability around it that you need to restore here. And the core around all of this is your mind and how you think about things, because the rulers here are in the mind houses of the 3rd and the 9th house. So there is definitely, you want to expand when it comes to understanding the things around you, for sure. And but it could also mean that there needs to be reassessed something around your vision and how practical that vision is for you. So definitely some vulnerabilities to money as well with the Moon Neptune there. So it could mean a loss there, but you think it's a loss, but actually it's a restoration. It's you could lose, like, for instance, something that was very important for you, that has to do, whether it is like a computer or a television or whatever, something that cost quite a bit of money, and but ultimately after that you find out that it was for the best, because now with a new computer you can work 10 times faster, for instance. So yes, you will have to put your mind onto how you are going to figure this out and how you are going to get that money, for instance, for buying a new computer. But there is definitely this back and forwards around your mental activities and how you attract things in your life when it comes to your assets through your mindset. You know, is it a mindset of lack, or is it a mindset of abundance? This is a lot of the law of attraction, you could say, or you could say just when you say I want something, it doesn't necessarily come to you, you know, because when you stress I want something, you're stressing to the universe that you haven't got it, which is a mindset of lack. You know, all these things are very interesting for you to figure this out and to work on that, so that you can restore that balance with the self-worth. Last but not least, of course, the Pisceans. This is a super important full moon for you. It's your full moon. So all that I said about the boundaries, the discernment, the oneness, the compassion, it's all really, you know, the intro was super, super important for you. Even if you're saying, yeah, but that's only for people who've got planets at 17 degrees. No. You're a Piscean. So you will feel this the most. And so a lot for you, it's like you being you could be very emotional. This is happening in your relationship sector. So, but the chances are big that you are going to put your emotions out there, and it could be a lot. It could be that you are a bit overwhelmed of that, and this in confrontation with another person. But ultimately, You could think this is a negative thing, but it's not. It's all there to restore the balance between you and another person. Even when you are single, it could mean that someone is important for you in your life at the moment, and you are restoring that 50-50% of how you want this connection to go further. Deep down inside, it all has to do with self-worth and you know, the value that you are seeking, the balance between the value you are seeking within yourself and within other people. So there could be an imbalance there because of the rulers, Mercury and Jupiter, your ancient ruler, right? Jupiter being in your second house. So you want to get stronger there and more centered there with Jupiter in your second house, and you have all the opportunity to do so. But it will demand a lot of communication now around with important people in your life, but around self-worth and around my word versus your word. So when you are typical a person that puts too much validation onto other people, and you are doing that, right? They can help it. I mean, they can help it. They do whatever they do. I mean, you can't control it. That's the thing I wanted to say. So it's up to you when you are trying to get validation of someone. Oh yeah, like me. You are getting codependent. You don't want that. That means that when that person is not having a good day, you're not having a good day. So it's about rebalancing that, or the other way around. If you're saying, yeah, I have such a strong frame that other people don't like this and are saying like, we have to cope with you every single day, and you are so emotional, and we haven't got the time to express ourselves, then that is the imbalance that they are asking for. But I think, you know, normally for Pisceans, it's the other way around. Pisceans are already known by, being like sponges with other people. So it's very important for you now to center yourself and certainly to ground yourself as much as you can. What is grounding yourself? It's having enough meals a day, it's doing some exercises, walking in nature, whatever it is for you, you will need it, because there is so much in you, there's so much emotion that will come up. On a very positive level, this is healing. This means that it all comes out so that you're rid of it. So express it, not to impress, but to express, right? I say not to impress for a reason, because otherwise you are going to look for validation again outside of you, which, you know, your cup is never full for a long time, right? You're filling up your cup constantly with other people's validation, and then, you know, it's like an addiction almost. You're addicted to the validation of someone else. You don't want that. That's not healthy. You want the 50-50, a give and take. And I think for you Pisceans, this is a huge opportunity to restore that through the validation of others. Also, it could be that there's a bit of, when you are married, for instance, or you're sharing resources with another person, there could be like an ego conflict going on and a lot of communication. It could also mean the money that you invested together, or that has to do with inheritances, or that has to do with loans and all of that, that you have to do those conversations and to reassess and to figure out how you are going to restore the balance over there. But having said that, I wish all of you a very nice full moon. Thank you so much for watching. I wish you all the best with it. So be compassionate with healthy boundaries. Basically, that's the core. Thanks for watching, and see you next time. Bye-bye.